Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. I'm excited that we're almost at Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We got Friday. Hope you're all doing well. We have Ahmed. We have Samuel, Alex, Michael Chaize. Not Michael Chaize. We also have Michael Chaize in the chat. Samuel, Emma, Matthias. A lot of the regulars. I love this. I love hanging out in the morning. Hope you're all doing well this morning. Today is day number, I believe it's number 7 of the Daily Creative Challenge. And I think it's a fun one. We've had some pretty interesting and challenging challenges over the last week or two, but I think today is going to be really interesting because there's so much you can do with creating a photo editing app for your phone. And hey, Adobe Live, we have GusBot in the chat and Gladstein, Cheryl. Let me know where you're from, I don't know. Words are hard. Let me know where you're from. I'm streaming right now live from Los Angeles. GusBot is in San Francisco right now. It's amazing how technology brings us all together. Two Michaels. We have a Chase and a Chaize. One of you needs to change your name. So, we also have a Slack channel where we're also hanging out and having fun. If you go to that URL right up there, bit.ly/XD Slack, and case sensitive, so make sure to type that in correctly. And we're just hanging out in there. And if I hop over to my screen here, whoop, here's our Slack channel. We have 8,554 people. That's a lot of people in the Slack channel. And here's the introduction section. A lot of people we've got Spain, Hamburg, a lot of interesting places all around the world, places I hope to get to at some point. We also have a Help General section where you can ask questions or answer questions if you're an expert on XD. And Samuel, I believe it's Samuel, just asked a question if XD can follow objects such as dragging. So there is drag effects, but they don't necessarily follow objects yet. That might be coming in the future. So stay tuned. And if you're new to the Daily Creative Challenge, we have... Hey, Van Damme, I'm not going to actually quiz you at the end. But you never know, I might one day. If you're new to the XD Daily Creative Challenge, how does it work? Well, each day we give you a challenge, and today is no different. We've been giving challenges for the last almost 2 weeks, a week and a half. And 8:30 every morning, I'm here, or last week Michael was here, sometimes Marissa's here, and we're really just kicking it off, showing you kind of what you can do with a challenge like this. Very basic stuff, and then we'll leave it up to you to really expand on that and make it interesting. And we've seen some really cool stuff. And if you're taking part, make sure to use the tag XD Daily Challenge on Behance so we can search for it. We can show off some of the amazing designs that you've created. And there's a good chance that on Friday, after Friday's little episode, we might stick around for a little bit longer to show off some really cool stuff you've all been working on over the last 2 weeks. Again, we have a Slack channel. Definitely hop on there, hang out with us. We're there all day, every day. And then down here, we have all the challenges. And you can start from Tuesday's design if you want to, create an event web page. And then you can make it responsive, and you can move your way all the way down to today's challenge, which is to design a photo editing mobile app, which is going to be really fun. Now, before I get into that, I do want to touch on a few things. I want to touch on that we released an auto animate UI kit on Behance, and it's fun. I put this together, me and one of our product managers, Jonathan, we worked on this together, and it really showcases what you can do with auto animate. Mostly basic stuff to get you going. It's really for people who have never used auto animate before. You like the little winky effect, it's kind of fun. And you can just scroll down, you can learn about auto animate, you can watch a video that I created, and then you can download the XD file right there. And it has basic elements like moving charts or opacity changes, things like that. So if you're really getting into auto animate or want to learn more, download this UI kit, head over to Behance. You can search Howard Pinsky, or you can just search auto animate UI kit and you will find it. Now again, as I mentioned, make sure to use the tag XD Daily Challenge if you are taking part in our challenges. That way we can find amazing things like this one from Samuel, who is a regular in our chat, not only in Slack, but also Adobe Live. So thanks for hanging out, Samuel. He put this together yesterday for the review challenge. Very clean. I love this yellow. It's not too bright. It's not too in your face. And then we have a little video. As I've mentioned in the past, auto animate doesn't work yet on the web if you embed a prototype. So what a lot of people are doing is they're exporting a video from XD and then uploading that in their Behance project. And I like this one because when Samuel clicks on the stars, there's a little, very subtle pop effect. It's kind of nice. And you can click for a reward. Really cool stuff. Great job, Samuel. And then this one we have from Joseph. Very similar concept. There is a video here. Let me play this back. We've got the overall rating, and they did use the technique I showed yesterday where you can create a repeat grid and basically collapse it on one artboard and expand it on the other, and it will animate. Really nice stuff. And again, another fun reward for viewers or customers. This one here is by Aaron. Really, I love the way this web page looks. Very simple, very clean. The colors are really nice. Although I will say the brown or whatever this color is a little bit hard to read. Just a touch, but not too bad. Looks great. And he also includes the colors at the bottom. Nice. We have this one from Gladstein, who's also a regular in our chat. I believe he's here. What's up, Gladstein, if you are here? I love the rotating carousel at the top, which I believe he did with time transitions. Really nice. And then one more before I jump in. We have this one from Kelly. She actually used a technique that I posted on Dribbble a few days ago with, it was basically a number counter, and she used that to simulate this almost like a slot machine rating system, which is fun. Fun use of auto animate. I love it. She added shadows in there and the stars. Let's play that one more time just to see it. Look at those stars go. Really cool stuff. Hey, Gladstein. Hey, Lee. Hey, Douchey. Matthias. Dushy. Sorry. Cool stuff. So let's jump into our daily challenge. So here's the template that you are able to download. And if I do hop back over to Behance for 1 second, there is a button to download the template, so you can really just dive in and get started. And after this video, if you want to rewatch this stream, you'll be able to click on this button here, and you'll be able to rewatch all of this. So here we go. In XD, what we provide in these templates are a few things. We have the actual artboards right over here to the right. We have some inspiration over here to the left, which in this case is Lightroom CC Mobile, which I use all the time. Allows you to shoot HDR, allows you to shoot raw DNGs. Good stuff. I love Lightroom Mobile. And it syncs with Lightroom CC. So when you get back to your computer, everything's there and you can continue editing. Love it. Also some color schemes. If any of these really stick out to you, you can actually add these very quickly to your assets panel. I'm going to select all of these colors. I'm going to hold down my shift key and just click on all of these. Hop over to my assets panel, which is down here at the bottom, this little icon right here. You can also use the Command or Control Shift Y shortcut, boop, and you go to your assets panel. And if I press the plus button beside colors, it's going to automatically add all those selected colors to my assets. And what's really cool, as I've mentioned in the past, is that at any time in your project, if you have multiple of these, let's say I have this one here, this one here, this one up here, this one over here, right? And I want to change that blue throughout the entire document. I can go to my assets panel, right click, press edit, and then make those changes, and it'll update across the entire thing, which is really nice. So you don't have to worry about updating it everywhere. You just have to update it once. Good stuff. And then there's some resources down here if you need profile photos, stock photography, things like that. So the challenge today, creating, and hey Chris, welcome, creating a mobile app for photo editing. So we have some very basic templates right here, and we're actually gonna just grab this guy here. We're gonna drag this down. We're gonna start just like this. And there is an image, there's a rectangle in the background, which we're going to use for some images. And you take a look in the layers panel, we have a photo, which is basically just a rectangle, navigation bar, and a toolbar. And if you are doing this challenge, you can grab these icons, you can use them, do what you want with them. So for this rectangle in the background, I'm actually gonna hop over to Finder, and I have a photo here of my daughter. This was probably about a year ago. She's much bigger now. And I have a few different photos that we're gonna be using throughout this project. So I'm gonna grab this one here, drag this directly into Adobe XD, and it's going to automatically mask it. And that's really why I love using masks or rectangles or shapes when adding photos, because if I didn't do that, let me hop back over Finder. If I drag it right here, it's a large image, and sometimes you use much larger images and it just takes up the entire thing. So by using shapes, I can just drag this right in, pops it in, and there we go, we have a shape. So the first thing I want to be able to simulate is a brightness filter. So what we're going to do, I'm actually going to duplicate this. I'm going to Command or Control D to duplicate. Now I have 2 of them. And I'm going to drag this image here, which is a little bit brighter, right into here. And I'm simply going to turn the opacity down to 0, because we'll simulate that using a drag effect in a second. But we need to create that drag handle, right? So what we're going to do, come down here. Let's add another rectangle. Whoops. Rectangle right down here. And this is going to house, very similar to this over here, it's going to house our little drag handle. Does she look like me? You think so? Maybe. I've heard that a lot. So I'm going to turn off the border. Let's set the fill to black and then decrease the opacity so there's a little bit of transparency. Let's say to 50%. I'm going to add a line right in the middle, just like that. Let's increase the border to 3 pixels, looks nice, and we'll make it white. Make sure it's centered in the document. You're noticing as I'm moving things around, it just snaps in place, which is nice. And also, if you wanted to, at the very top, this corner up here, you can press this icon, which is align center, and it'll automatically align that to the center. Anya says, are there any leaks about XD for the iPads? I obviously can't talk about that, but honestly, I don't know. I'm not on the XD product team. I would love to see XD on the iPad, but I'm honestly not sure. So if I'm gonna grab my circle, my ellipse tool, drag out a little ellipse right here. Again, it snaps into place. Let's make this one orange, and we'll leave it right there. Perfect. Now I'm gonna make sure all these are grouped. I'm going to select them all in my layers panel, Command and Control G, and let's name this slider, just so things are organized. Okay, so now that that's done, we basically have 2 photos. We have one that's going to be the bright photo, and let me actually name this bright photo. And then we have a slider at the bottom, and we have everything else that came with the template, right? So I'm going to grab this artboard here, click on it at the top, hold down my Alt-Option key, and then drag it over to the side to duplicate it. You can also use the Command or Control D key to do that very simply. Now, with that done, I'm going to grab the bright photo, which previously I decreased the opacity to 0%, and I'm going to increase it to 100%. And then I'm going to grab the little circle on my slider and drag that over, let's say, to right about here. Perfect. Now, how do we actually make this into something that works? I'm going to hop into my prototype mode at the top, and I'm going to grab the little circle on my slider, and you're noticing when I click on that, a little blue handle appears. And I can simply drag that handle over to the right to this artboard. I'm going to select drag because that's the trigger that we want, and auto animate. You don't have to worry too much about easing when you're using drag effects. And at this point, what XD is doing, once we actually play this prototype, is it's looking at the differences between the 2 artboards. So it's noticing that there was an image on this artboard called Bright Photo with a 0% opacity. There was one on this artboard, same image, same layer name, very important, with a 100% opacity. And it's going to animate that. And there's also this slider has been moved, so it notices these things. And when I press the play button at the top, and I grab the slider and drag it over, you're noticing the image is gradually getting brighter. And I can just pop it right there and leave it in place. So that's one way of doing things, right? And the second thing I want to do is add a black and white filter. So if we take a look, actually let's duplicate this. Actually, we'll duplicate the image one more time, duplicate, and I'm going to grab my black and white image, drag it right in here, and turn the opacity down to 0. Perfect. Now, basically what we want is when someone clicks on the filters button, which we're going to use at this point for black and white, we want something else to pop up, right? So And I should have probably added another state before this one so you can click on brightness and that slider will pop up. So let's actually do that very quickly. Let me move these artboards over. This is what happens when you design. You think of new things that you should probably have done. So I'm going to duplicate this one over to the left. I'm going to grab this entire slider. I'm actually going to move this behind the navigation bar at the bottom, or the toolbar, and slide it down so we hide it. Now I want to make sure on these artboards as well, I'm also moving this down, because sometimes, depending on how you're animating things, sometimes that will matter. Now if I go into prototype mode, click on the brightness icon, if I can get it, there it is. Drag this over. We're going to have a tap trigger. It's auto animate. We'll have, let's say, a snap, and we'll want it pretty quick, 0.4 seconds. And if I press play, click brightness, that slider pops up, and I can now grab this and drag it over to make that image brighter. All right. Now, for the next one, we want, what was it? Black and white. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do black and white. So first we want to basically hide the slider when someone clicks on filters and then slide up something else. So we're going to drag this over, grab this guy, move it down, wire this up quickly. So when someone clicks on filters, that slides away, and it's kept all the same settings as the previous time when I dragged that handle over. So if I press this, press filters, it hides that slider. But obviously at this point, we want something else to pop up from the bottom. So let's design something else. Let me hide my toolbar. I'm actually going to use this gotta go in design mode. I'm going to use the same rectangle, pop it up here. I'm going to group this, and we'll call this one filters. Let's move it right over here. And now we basically want a few different filters. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. This is going to be black and white, just like this. And I'm going to use a linear gradient to kind of simulate a black and white filter. And let's say we might want a blue filter or a warming filter, possibly. We probably just need a solid color for this one. Sure, that looks great, whatever. We'll have a blue filter. That'll be a cooling filter. We'll have a red filter. And these are not great colors, but they'll do for now. And a green filter. And we'll make sure that all these are in the center of the document. So at this point, we now have, let me make sure these are all inside of my filters. After, we're going to move this down and then duplicate this over. So immediately after that slider disappears, we want this new slider to kind of come up, right? So back into prototype mode, I'm going to click on the artboard name at the top, because time transitions only work when you have an entire artboard selected. So I'm going to drag this handle over to the right. It's going to be a time transition, 0 seconds, auto animate, snap, 0.4 seconds. So now we're back in the prototype. Press filters, it automatically slides down, and it didn't slide up. Why did it not slide up? Oh, you know why? Because I didn't have anything to slide up from. You have to actually move it up. Not the slider, the filters. Aha. See, you got to design both states first. Now if you press play, filters, slider goes down, filters come up. Now, once we press the black and white filter, what's going to happen? Basically, kind of the same thing. The filter is going to go away, and then the slider is going to appear. And you can probably do this in a few less artboards if you don't want fancy animations. I'm going to move this over to the side. Let me change this color to white. And I want to make sure that on this artboard here, let me just move my slider up a little bit. I basically do the same thing. All right. Now let me move the slider down again. Perfect. Now to wire this up. So at this point, once I press on the black and white slider, or the filter, it goes over to this artboard, which is going to hide all of the sliders or the filters. And then immediately it's going to go over here. It's going to be a time transition. Perfect. So let's see how this is looking from the beginning. Press on brightness, slider pops up. We can drag this over to brighten up the image. Click on filters, slider goes away, filters come up. Click on the black and white filter. Again, sliders go away, filter comes up, and now we need to drag this over here and actually adjust that black and white filter. So I'm going to increase that, and I am noticing that I didn't change the layer name, which is also very important. So this is black and white photo. I'm going to go back to this artboard here, make sure that that is the same name, black and white. And I'm going to grab the slider, drag this over all the way to, let's say, 100%. Perfect. Now back in prototype mode, just like before, we're going to make sure to click on just the little circle inside of the slider, drag it over to the right. This is going to be a drag transition once again, no easing. And now if we press play and drag that over, you're noticing the image is very gradually getting black and white. We can also have the blur effect. Yeah, you can definitely do a blur effect. It's a little bit different because at the moment, XD does not animate the native blurring. So if I were to actually grab this photo, have an object blur, and then try to animate this, it's only gonna create that blur once I let go, right? That is something I believe the team is working on to make sure that these blurs animate. But what you could do is create something similar after the fact and bring that in as a photo. And then when you basically turn down the opacity, just like we're doing for these black and white and bright images, and then that will kind of fake it, but it won't exactly look like that real blur effect, if you understand what I mean. So let's see how things are looking from the beginning. So what we did is we have this very simple photo app, and when you click on brightness, the slider pops up from the bottom with a little ellipse that we can drag over to the right, and we can gradually brighten up that photo. And you can notice you can just drag it back and forth. And you can also, what you're able to do is you can grab this one and actually link this back over here if you wanted to reverse it. So brightness pops up. Let me move this out of the way. Drag it over. I can also drag it back if I wanted to. That looks pretty good. And if I wanted to make it a black and white photo, I can press filters at the bottom. The slider auto animates down. The filters slide up from the bottom. I can press the black and white filter, slide this over, and now I have a black and white photo. And very quickly, if I did want to add a little bit more in there, what I can do is I can grab this artboard, let's say drag it down here. If I wanted, let's say a warming filter, I can actually do that without an additional photo. I can grab my rectangle tool, drag this across. I'm going to move this right above the photos, set this color to, let's say, a nice warm color, turn down the opacity, just like that. We'll name this warm, like that. And then if we go to prototype, if we just click on this warming filter, drag that over, we'll make it a tap. We probably don't need auto animate in this case. We can just have a very quick dissolve. And if I press play, click, we have a warming filter, right? And I might want to, in this case, highlight this, maybe add a border so the user knows that that filter is indeed on. And if I go to prototype, I can link this back. So if you don't want that filter turned on, it'll basically go back there. Turn the filter on, turn the filter off, go to black and white, slide it over to the right. Pretty fun stuff. So I'm really excited to see what all of you create. There's so much possibility for an app and a challenge like this. I'm really looking forward to checking all of your stuff out tonight and tomorrow morning. Definitely join us in Slack, share your designs. If we hop over back to Slack, there is a design feedback section. Pop your designs in there. We're in there all day checking things out. And it's been fun. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you all tomorrow with another exciting challenge. See you later, everyone.